couple of days ago, there were news, a rumor that Xbox is planning to go consoleless in the future, to go completely hardware-less, and to go straight into cloud gaming. This will reveal one of the most interesting master plans that I could potentially see working in favor of Microsoft and Xbox. So allow me to explain how this plan might be too crazy to actually work. So Xbox for the last couple of months has been kind of a mess in the gaming division. It's shutting down studios and doing this huge acquisition to studios like Activision that are obviously major cash cows with Call of Duty, but they seem to have suffered a little bit of the whole putting Call of Duty in the Game Pass, which from the beginning was a huge gamble and that it hasn't really paid off for Microsoft. Now, it is true that Xbox has been pushing cloud gaming, its xCloud thing, for a while now. I was in Miami a couple of months ago and I saw it on my screen, pop up on my screen on my Fire Stick TV, and you could just plug in an Xbox controller and get to work. And to be honest, it was very glitchy, very laggy, but for what I could see working, it was genuinely quite interesting in the proposal.
Holy fucking shit.
One of the major aspects of this whole fiasco of the studios and bringing Call of Duty into Game Pass, for me, seemed kind of really not making sense, since you're kind of really wishing that people would just switch consoles or switch to PC, where you are not directly competing with anybody except Steam and all those things. But it seemed very risky and not really a very well thought out business idea. But now, for me, this makes a bunch of sense, to be honest. So with basically the cloud gaming, you gain a lot of broad reach, right? You don't have to rely so much on your hardware sales or on people buying an $800 console or a $2,000 PC where you can actually play your games, but they rely more on the openness about it, the connectivity about it, and you only just rely really on your bandwidth and your internet, and that's really about it, because then the cloud is doing everything for you. If Microsoft doesn't have to build, ship, and support physical consoles, it reduces cost, logistics, and hardware risk. They could reach more devices, phones, TVs, low-end PCs via streaming, and it's just very simple. So what I see going forward is Xbox not really being a console or a game manufacturer, but really a cloud service, a streaming service for that, a Netflix account, a Prime Video account, an Xbox account for gaming. I know it's very weird to think of a future in console gaming where Xbox, one of the main guys basically, is not in the race anymore and it's just Sony and Nintendo. But this could be one of the ways they can really, I guess, not only compete but surpass the competition. You see, because they can't really compete in hardware sales with something like Sony. Sony does really well in that department, and Nintendo does extremely well too. But Nintendo does its own thing with hardware, and they don't really seem to be anything close of finishing with that. And Sony seems to be more open to the idea of having Xbox exclusives and all this stuff and sharing their exclusives with Xbox, but they don't seem that open to the idea of the cloud service. So I think this is where Xbox might have an edge. To me, personally, I think it makes sense. I am not a really cloud service gamer. I'm more of a physical media kind of guy. But to be honest, I can see for them and how the world is kind of changing and evolving past gaming, and how you need to not own it, but just kind of rent the service, which is not for me, but for a lot of people, they seem really fine with that idea. And to be honest, this could really break a new middle ground on what cloud service and gaming can do. One of the main questions, when is it going to happen? Not anytime soon. Xbox is going to go into the next gen. They are partnered with AMD, and they're probably going to work on that console and to deliver their users what they want and all this stuff. But we could really see an early future where they're slowly stop pushing their consoles and the hardware sales and going to more of the so just get Xbox as a service going forward, which would be a lot of money, a lot less cost, and you could potentially take everything from Call of Duty, from Gears of War to all their games, right? And you could stop competing with yourself on PC and provide more broad offer. One of the most likely outcomes that could come from this is a hybrid model from Microsoft where slowly they keep the console thing so they can keep that customer base, even though it's very little for them right now in terms of profits, but they can slowly transition like the way they have transitioned into more open about PC. Now, if you own a PC, you don't own an Xbox because it's just redundant at this point. You have everything on the Xbox that's on PC. You have Xbox Game Pass and all this stuff. So for PC, you're not even competing there because it's kind of your market, your Microsoft. So for them, it really makes a ton of sense to try this hybrid model for a while. But there could be a future where if you have a really solid connection into the internet, I mean, you could have no issues. After all is said and done, I don't think Xbox and Microsoft are ready to pull the plug on Xboxes tomorrow. But I am sure that this could be a great idea for them and could potentially see the gaming and the console market potentially change forever. Thank you guys for watching.